3 a.m. Outside, the city still sleeps in silence. No cars, no hurried conversations. Only the slow ticking of a clock, counting each breath of time. In a small suburban house, Helen, 74, opens her eyes. She doesn't know why she's awake. There's no noise, no pain. Yet her body seems used to it. 3 a.m. feels like an invisible appointment. The dim light of the bedside lamp falls across her silver hair and delicate face. Beside her, the pillow is empty and cold. Her husband, Michael, has been gone for 7 years. She sits up, sighs softly, and looks out the window. The pale moonlight drifts through the leaves. The neighborhood sleeps peacefully, but she knows that somewhere out there, millions of others like her, older, quiet, awake, are also staring at the ceiling, silently asking, why do I always wake up at this hour? 3 a.m., perhaps the loneliest moment in a lifetime. No one to talk to, no one to listen, only the slow, steady beat of a heart. Some wake because of age, some because of illness, but most for reasons without names. A memory, a longing, or the simple ache of emptiness that creeps through the night. When we were young, sleep came easily. After a long day, we would close our eyes and drift away without effort. But in old age, sleep becomes fragile, like the last leaf of the season. Doctors at Stanford University once said, an older person's sleep is like a windy lake, restless, easily disturbed. After 60 or 70, the body produces far less melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep. The biological rhythm shifts, making it harder to fall asleep, easier to wake, and harder to rest again. Science explains it that way. But inside the heart of an older person, the story feels different. Many say they don't just wake up, they awaken with their soul. Around 3 a.m., the body enters its deepest stage of recovery. The liver works hardest, the heart slows, the blood pressure drops. Any imbalance, sugar, breathing. Many older adults say that what they fear most at night is not sleeplessness, but silence. Because when the silence lasts too long, you start to hear everything. The faint hum of the fridge, the whisper of wind under the door, the ticking of a clock. And behind those small sounds lies something deeper, loneliness. The young fear sleeplessness because of fatigue. The old fear it because of emptiness. The quiet night becomes a mirror, reflecting everything they've been, regrets, love, and the words left unspoken. Psychologists call this the hour of the mind. After midnight, the brain's emotional and memory centers become more active. That's why older people often find themselves reliving old memories, feeling tender, even tearful. When the world falls silent, the mind begins to speak to itself. Many say this is when they converse with their past, not to suffer, but to understand. Because after walking through most of life, you begin to see that the things that once tormented you are now only dust in the flow of time. At 3 a.m., some turn on the light and reread old letters. Some sit on the porch, watching moonlight fall on the empty chair where a loved one once sat. Others just close their eyes, listening to the rhythm of their own heartbeat. From the outside, it might look like sadness, but often it's something gentler, a rare kind of peace. Because if you can still wake, still feel, it means you're still alive. You're still a witness to your own life. People say that after 60, we no longer need deep sleep. We need peace. Short naps are enough when the heart is calm. So if you find yourself awake at 3 in the morning, don't rush to think of it as insomnia. Think of it as your body's gentle reminder that you can still sense life. Make yourself a cup of tea, sit quietly, watch the moon, listen to the wind, whisper a small thank you to life itself for giving you another night to breathe, to remember, to love. An elderly man once said, "When you grow old, you don't need more sleep, you need more peace." Perhaps he was right. Amid all the noise of the world, sleep is only a pause. Have us. New Golden Day was created to walk beside you, to tell stories of vitality, gratitude, and the light that still shines within every heart, no matter how many years have passed. So, if you wish to hear more stories like this, stories that make the night less cold, the heart less empty, and the soul smile again, subscribe to New Golden Day. One small click might be the way you never have to wake up alone in the dark again. When an older person wakes up at 3 in the morning, many think it's just a coincidence. But in truth, behind that moment lies an entire story of the body, of time itself. The human body never does anything without reason. Every time it wakes us, there's a purpose, however small, hidden deep within movements too quiet for the eye to see. After 60, the body's internal rhythm begins to change. Geriatric doctors call it a phase advance. The biological clock shifts earlier than in youth. At 30, you might feel sleepy around 11 and wake up at 6. But by 70, sleep shortens on its own. You grow drowsy by 8 or 9 and wake naturally at 3 or 4, even when nothing disturbs you. It's simply the body's way of adapting to age. Muscles weaken, metabolism slows, and the brain produces less melatonin, the hormone that helps you drift into deep sleep. Like a fading lamp, your sleep becomes lighter, easier to break. Among the hundreds of older adults I've met, nearly all said they often wake around the same time, around 3 a.m. Some feel their hearts race, some feel a chill. Others simply open their eyes and cannot fall back asleep. Science explains this with a familiar mechanism. Between 2 and 4 in the morning, body temperature drops to its lowest point, along with blood pressure and heart rate. For older adults, whose bodies can no longer regulate temperature or circulation as before, even small changes can make the brain sense danger, and so it wakes you. Yet interestingly, not everyone feels fear when it happens. Many say they've grown used to that hour, as if it were a natural part of the night. One elderly woman told me, "I don't think of it as insomnia anymore. I think of it as my private time." She explained that after her husband passed away, she began waking up every night at exactly 3:15. At first she was frightened, thinking something was wrong, but gradually she started making tea, sitting by the window, writing a few notes, and feeling at peace. "I like to think maybe he's somewhere out there, awake with me," she said, "and I'm not alone anymore." For many, waking at 3 a.m. is no longer. Memory finds its way back. A study at Oxford University found that more than 60% of adults over 65 report waking during the night accompanied by feelings of sadness or emptiness. Psychologists call this phenomenon nocturnal cognition, thinking in the dark. While the body rests, the emotional parts of the brain grow active, causing us to think more deeply, remember more vividly, and feel more tenderly. That's why 3 a.m. becomes the hour when the body and the soul begin to talk to each other. But it isn't always a bad thing. In many cases, waking at night is actually a form of protection. When older adults experience irregularities in heart, breathing, or blood sugar, the brain can trigger an alert, waking them before something dangerous happens. Many lives have quietly been saved this way. So if you often find yourself awake at that hour, don't be angry with your body. It may simply be protecting you. The body in old age is like a cautious old friend, no longer strong, but deeply wise. It knows when to stop, when to slow down, when to ask for attention. Every awakening, every breath, every small movement is its way of whispering, "I'm still here, still walking with you." And at that age, knowing your body still speaks to you, still connects you to life, is something truly precious. Perhaps the most beautiful part of 3 a.m. is not in the heartbeat or the hormones, but in the small light of realization. Some, after years of fear, finally understand that waking up isn't a sign of weakness, it's a sign of life. They stop fighting it. They turn on a light, open a window, breathe in the scent of earth and leaves and quiet. They begin to cherish those minutes that once felt meaningless because they realize they are the only moments in the day when they can truly listen to themselves. An 80-year-old man once told me, "I used to be terrified. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. and feel like the world had forgotten me. But then I realized maybe the world was giving me time to remember all that was good." He said that after that, he began writing down memories, sending letters to his children, and feeling lighter. 3 a.m., he said, is when I get to live again, love, to remember, to connect. Perhaps that's why God left this gift for old age, those quiet hours before dawn, so we could learn to slow down, feel more deeply, and give thanks more often. So if tonight you open your eyes again at 3 a.m., don't scold yourself. Think of it as an appointment with life. Get up, pour yourself a cup of warm water, or simply sit by the window. The sky is still vast, the moon still shining, and you are still here. Sometimes, that alone is enough to know that life has not yet closed its doors. And if you ever feel that quiet emptiness return, let New Golden Day keep you company. Here, you'll not only hear stories, you'll hear yourself reflected in them. The stories of those who once feared the night, who once lost, but eventually learned to love life again. 3 a.m. The world still sleeps, but inside a small room, an elderly person opens their eyes. No sound, no wind, just a silence so deep it echoes with the rhythm of their heartbeat. In that moment, everything seems to pause and time begins to speak its own quiet language. Some once feared this hour, praying to sleep straight until dawn, but slowly they came to understand. 3 a.m. isn't just a broken night's rest, it's the hour when the soul begins to speak. After 60, when life is no longer pulled by work, children or ambition, time stretches wider. And within that space, silence begins to take shape. By day, the elderly often hide longing behind smiles, fear behind calmness, emptiness behind small talk. But when night falls, when the lights go out, there is nothing left to hide behind. Everything returns, honest, vivid, and tender enough to ache. Many call 3 a.m. the hour of the soul. It's when all the costumes of life, parent, grandparent, respected elder, former professional, fall away. What remains is the pure self, a small human being who has loved, lost, remembered, feared, and is still trying to understand themselves. There's no one to impress, no one to prove anything to, only quiet questions whispered into the dark. Have I lived well? Have I loved enough? If tomorrow never comes, am I ready? In youth, people fear those questions because there isn't yet enough time to answer them. In old age, they fear them because there is too much to remember. The longer we live, the more stories we carry. Some we're eager to tell, others we never dare to share. At 3 a.m., when memory opens its door, those fragments return. The face of someone long gone, a final family meal, a child's laughter now aged and grey, or the eyes of an old friend we never got to forgive. These memories don't make the elderly cry. They make them breathe slower, as if afraid to break the fragile images floating through their minds. A psychologist at Mayo Clinic once said, "Older adults who wake in the night aren't just dealing with sleep disorders. They wake because the brain is processing emotions that were never closed." And it's true. Through the middle of the night, I was terrified. It felt like the world had vanished. But then I started talking, not to anyone, but to myself. I talked about what I was grateful for, the mistakes I'd made, the things I still loved. And little by little, 3 a.m. stopped being dark. It became the hour I came alive again, calmly. That might sound simple, but it's a lifelong journey. Learning to talk with oneself is something many never manage to do. When you grow old, you can't always share everything with your children. There are feelings they can't understand, fears only time can teach. And so, the elderly begin to speak with themselves, in whispers, in the gaze through a window, in a sigh that no one hears. And in those quiet conversations, many rediscover a peace they thought was lost. When a person learns to sit with loneliness, loneliness begins to soften. It's no longer a heavy stone pressing down, but a pillow for the soul to rest upon. Older people start to find beauty in those seemingly empty hours. To hear the wind, feel the cool air, watch the moonlight on the floor, and listen to the ticking clock like the steady heartbeat of life itself. They stop fearing the night because they realize night is only frightening when we refuse to speak with it. Some begin keeping journals, not to complain, but to clear their minds. Some make tea and set a second cup beside the empty chair of a loved one, as if still sharing a conversation. Some pray, not from fear of death, but from gratitude for life, for fate, for the chance to have come this far. These small rituals, quiet as they seem, are the anchors that keep the soul steady amid the vast stillness of night. At a deeper level, many therapists say that 3 a.m. is the hour of natural healing. It's when humans are most connected to their subconscious, the place where truth and pain and strength all reside together. Older adults, though fragile in body, possess an extraordinary power, patience with themselves. When others sleep, they listen. When others rush, they observe. When others fear silence, they sit beside it and find their own voice within it. If someone asked what helps a person grow old without growing bitter, the answer would be acceptance. And acceptance doesn't arrive in daylight. It comes in night. Across this planet, thousands of older souls are also awake, also watching the window, also listening to the ticking of the clock, just like you. You may never know their names, and they may never know yours, but all of you share one thing: the same steady breath of time. Let 3 a.m. be your moment of gratitude, not because life is perfect, but because you still have the chance to feel it. Sleep may not return right away, but peace already has, soft, gentle, and deeply alive. 3 a.m. While the world still sleeps in darkness, some older souls are learning how to fall asleep again, not with their eyes, but with their hearts. They've come to understand that some kinds of rest don't happen in bed, but in peace. It takes most of a lifetime to realize that true quiet doesn't come from the silence around you, but from the stillness within you. The older we grow, the clearer it becomes. What keeps us awake is not age or health. It's the words left unsaid, the relationships left unresolved, and the small sorrows still lingering in the heart. Many seniors say that after hundreds of nights waking in the dark, they began to change how they faced it. They no longer rush to fall back asleep or scold themselves for waking. Instead, they gently accept it. Tonight, if I must stay awake, I will stay awake in peace. Some turn to faith, reading a few verses before closing their eyes. Some write down their worries, only to find that by putting them on paper, fear loses its grip. Others choose to pray for their children, their grandchildren, or even strangers. Because when you think of others, your heart feels less crowded, and your loneliness finds a place to rest. A psychiatrist at Johns Hopkins once said, In old age, you can't control everything, but you can control meaning. That truth feels especially profound for those who wake in the night. They cannot command their bodies to sleep, but they can choose how to listen. They can treat the night as a teacher, one that shows us how to slow down, how to be grateful, how to forgive. An elderly woman once told me that whenever she wakes, she places her hand over her heart and whispers, "Thank you for still beating." Such a small sentence, but it carries the gratitude of a lifetime spent in the care of a body that has never stopped trying. For many, those late-night awakenings have become the most precious hours of the day. It's when they read a few pages of an old book, write letters to loved ones long gone, or simply sit quietly and watch the moonlight pour through the window. They say moonlight never shines as brightly as daylight, but it has a gentler kind of light, one that soothes the soul. It's the light of memory, enough to illuminate what's worth keeping, but never harsh enough to blind of us. Peace. Like the sea at night, the surface may ripple, but deep below the water stays calm. So it is with the soul that has lived many years, outwardly tired, yet inwardly patient, tender, and full of quiet love. If you're listening to these words, and you've ever woken in fear, please know you are not lost. Each time you open your eyes, thousands of hearts are beating with yours. Somewhere, someone is looking at the same moon. Someone is brewing the same cup of tea. Someone is smiling softly in the dark and whispering, "I'm still here." And maybe that alone is enough to make your heart lighter. Life never asks us to conquer loneliness. It asks us to make peace with it, because loneliness, when listened to with care, becomes a friend. It teaches us to love ourselves, to treasure those still near us, and to understand that every breath, even one taken in the middle of the night, is a gift. And if these words touch your heart tonight, I invite you gently, subscribe to New Golden Day. Let this be the place you return to when night falls, the voice that keeps you company, the community that walks beside you through the quiet hours. Because in the journey of aging, no one should walk alone. When dawn finally comes, you'll realize something small but extraordinary. You've made it through another night, not by resisting, but by resting in calm. And as the first light touches your window, you'll understand. 3 a.m. was never darkness at all. It was the beginning of a new day. The moment when your soul finally found its rest, even while your eyes remained open. There's something strange that only those who have lived past 60 truly understand. The things we once feared most can, in time, become our closest companions. 3 a.m. is one of them. In the beginning, it's the sound of fear. Fear of illness, fear of loneliness, fear of the emptiness that comes when the world is silent. But slowly, as we learn to sit still, to stop resisting, stop blaming, stop trying to fill the void, 3 a.m. becomes an honest friend. It doesn't speak, but it listens. It doesn't erase pain, but it helps us face it without falling apart. Many older people say that, after a while, they realize that waking in the night is a gift, a moment to look back on life with gentler eyes. They stop asking, "Why am I lonely?" and start asking, "What can I do with this loneliness?" And in that shift, loneliness begins to soften. It opens into a wide, quiet space, not empty, but peaceful. In that stillness, one discovers that happiness never required much. A deep breath, a cherished memory, a warm cup of tea, or the faint light slipping through the window. Each enough to remind us that life is still happening. An elderly woman once said she thought she'd never survive the silence of long nights. But one morning, as birds sang outside and sunlight touched the thin curtain, she realized she had made it through the night without a fight. She didn't try to sleep. She didn't try to forget. She simply breathed. And when she accepted her breath as a companion, everything inside her settled. "I think," she said, "it was the moment I stopped trying to sleep that I finally found rest." Waking at 3 a.m. is not a sign of weakness. It's proof that we're still alive, that the body is still working, and the soul still sensitive enough to feel the world. The young often fear loneliness because they haven't yet made peace with silence. But the old, after many such nights, come to understand that silence isn't frightening. It's simply the space where all other sounds can be heard more clearly. The ticking clock, the rain, the heartbeat, the quiet whisper of life itself. Once people grow familiar with these waking hours, they begin to see the world when we no longer feel lacking. Even a short night can bring true rest. Old age isn't the end of the journey. It's the return home. A return to simplicity, to honesty, to the quiet truth of who we really are. At 3 a.m., if we choose to look with new eyes, it's no longer the hour of fear. It's the doorway to renewal. It's the moment when we see, more clearly than ever, that the most precious things are not the years behind us, but the breath we still have. The chance to love, to forgive, and to smile, even if it's only to ourselves. If you're hearing these words, I hope you feel this truth. You are not alone in the dark. Somewhere there are hearts like yours, also seeking peace after long years of living. They too are learning to rest within themselves, to breathe slowly, and to smile as light filters softly through the curtain. And on nights when you wake again, remember that new golden day is still here, like a friend sitting quietly beside you, sharing stories of gratitude, healing, and the small lights that never truly go out. If these words touch your heart, I invite you to subscribe to New Golden Day, so that when night comes, you'll always have a companion, someone speaking the same language of the heart. Finally, when you close your eyes, know that sleep will come, not because of effort, not because of medicine, but because you are no longer afraid. For when a person stops fearing the dark, they discover that within it, there is always a quiet flame burning. That flame has a name, hope, and hope at any age is still the most beautiful light of all.